And McCarron goes down the field, and it's caught and breathes in for the touchdown.
Two things in life that suck: death, taxes, and 85 will always go.
Welcome to New Stripe City, an urban podcast for diehard Bengals fans. I'm your host, Ace Boogie, and today's episode 6 is entitled Color Rushed. So today we'll be talking about the NFL Color Rush Bengals jersey. We'll also be talking about whether the Bengals should sign Leon Hall and or Donte Whitner, and we'll also get into the Bengals' upcoming 2016 schedule, and we'll end it all with the curse of Ohio and whether it's over or not for Who Dey Nation. And now back to our regularly scheduled programming. I bring you press coverage. And in recent Bengals news, Jeremy Hill is scheduled to appear on the show Family Feud July the 3rd. Carlos Dansby also has been instrumental in recruiting Donte Whitner, a safety, to sign with the Bengals. Whitner once spurned the Bengals in 2011 when tweeting Who Dey, but ended up signing with the 49ers. He last played with the Cleveland Browns. Geno Atkins made the NFL's top 100 list at number 29, which was a great accomplishment, but not bigger than him getting married over the past weekend. Congratulations, Geno. You deserve it. Cornerback Leon Hall is scheduled to make a decision on which team he will play for in 2016. It's been rumored that his choices are down between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Arizona Cardinals. Former Bengals linebacker Dan Skuta was charged with battery and was arrested over the past week. Former Bengals and current Steeler linebacker James Harrison was linked to positive PED tests and has stated that he will only interview on his own terms within his home with Roger Goodell present. Former 1988 Bengals Stanley Wilson's son was shot and killed this past week. And that brings us to our announcement section. So first off, also on our last podcast, we mentioned that we are now on iTunes. Make sure you find us under the name New Stripe City, and make sure you rate and review our podcast. We greatly would appreciate it. Also subscribe to our blogger. Our blogger address is www.newstripecity.blogspot.com. Also, make sure you follow our Facebook page. It's also under New Stripe City. Make sure you give us a like and stay tuned for content that goes through our Facebook if you enjoy reading your Bengals news through Facebook. And also, we have a review of our poll coming up later in the show, so stay tuned for that. And now for the segment that you guys have been waiting for, Bengals Real Talk. And kicking off things with Bengals Real Talk, we'll talk about the NFL Color Rush. As you guys know, a little background on the Color Rush is that it was made by Nike for Thursday Night Football. So Thursday Night Football wasn't receiving the excitement that they wanted, so they decided to implement Color Rush, in which they made a color scheme for an entire outfit for both teams. So this year in April, there was allegedly a Color Rush leaked, which was later proven false. And in this leak, the Bengals were shown to wear white with black stripes in their matchup with the Miami Dolphins. So this got the jungle pretty hype. A lot of people were looking forward to seeing the white on black, and were interested in seeing the diverse jersey appeal with this new appearance. And a second release of colorways had the Bengals with all black and the Dolphins wearing teal. So this also isn't definitive, but it's claimed by sources that this is going to be the final decision on what the Bengals will be wearing. So that's very interesting. Honestly, I kind of would love to see what the all-black uniforms would entail. There's no way of saying what the jerseys would look like, what the pants would look like, what the helmets would look like. In some instances, the helmets have been customized, so we are anxious to see what they will look like. In my personal opinion, The white and black stripes are okay, they're cool, but I kind of wanted to see either a black colorway or the all orange colorway, which would be kind of clean to me. Honestly, I'd just love to see the Bengals do an inverted helmet. The helmet would be majority black with orange stripes. Now that's dope.
Top five.
So we'll have to wait and see. My hope is that we will have a majority of an all black uniform with a little bit of some orange in there, and the helmet that I said about before. That would be so dope. So we'll have to wait and see exactly what is confirmed for the Bengals, but according to these sources, it looks like it's going to be a majority black uniform. And next we'll talk about the 2016 Bengals schedule. So I'm going to start off and break down every game from the New York Jets to the Baltimore Ravens. And I'll also go over the overall record between the two teams, the last 5 meeting record, and what their record is depending on which site they're at, and I'll also give my projection. So starting off, we have the New York Jets. The New York Jets are predicted by Vegas to go 8-8, and the overall record between the Bengals and the Jets is 8-17. In the last 5 meetings, the Bengals are 1-4 against the Jets. And at New York, the Bengals are 0-3. My projection for this first game is a win. Without Ryan Fitzpatrick and his availability being up in the air, if this continues to drag on, I think that could cause problems for New York. So I see the Bengals getting out here with a win. Next, we'll go back to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're scheduled to be between 11-5 and 10-6. The overall record between these two hated teams are 35-58. And in the last 5 meetings, the Bengals are 1-4 against Pittsburgh. And at Pittsburgh, recently within those 5 games, the Bengals are 1-1. I have the Bengals splitting with the Steelers this year, but this will be the game that they lose in week 2. Moving on, we have the Denver Broncos, who are projected to be 9-7 by Vegas, and the overall record for the Bengals against the Broncos is 9-20. In the last 5 meetings, the Bengals are 1-4, and at home against the Broncos in the last 5 games, the Bengals are 1-2. I project the Bengals to pull out a win here. There's no way the Bengals can let Mark Sanchez beat them again, so I see the Bengals taking care of business at home. Brings us to the Miami Dolphins at home. Week 4, the Color Rush game. The Dolphins are projected to be 7-9 by Vegas. The record of the Bengals versus the Dolphins is 5-15. In the last 5 meetings, the Bengals have been 2-3 against Miami. And at home against Miami, the Bengals are 1-2. I also see this as a win for the Bengals. Miami has so much turnover, they don't know what they're doing right now, and they're still trying to establish themselves as a team. And I feel that the Bengals are on a completely different level and will look to bounce back to a 3-1 record against Miami. The next week, the Bengals take on the Dallas Cowboys, who are revamped with Ezekiel Elliott and have Tony Romo back at quarterback and are projected to come in at 10-6 by Vegas rankings. The head-to-head matchup record with the Bengals against the Dallas Cowboys is 4-7. In their last 5 meetings, they've been 2-3. And when they play the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas in their last 5 meetings, they have been 0-2. I also have this as one of the losses that the Bengals may occur next year. Something weird about those Cowboys. And after Dallas, they have a second tough game at New England, where the Patriots are scheduled to be 10-6, and that's including Brady's suspension. The overall record between the two is 9-15, and in their last 5 meetings, the Bengals have won 1 game out of 4. And at New England, in the last 5 games, the Bengals are 0-2. I also have this as a possible loss for Cincinnati. Coming off of New England, the Bengals get a break. Cleveland cannot seem to get ahead in this series as the Bengals are winning overall by 46-39. And in the last 5 meetings, the Bengals have dominated the Browns 4-1. And at home, they are 2-1 against the Browns in the last 5 games, which I see this easily as a win for the Bengals. After that, they go into Washington, who's scheduled to be 7-9. They're 5-4 in the series meeting, and in the last 5 games, the Bengals have also dominated the Redskins 4-1. They're 3-1 at home, which they are this year, so I see that as another win. Look at the New York Giants. The Bengals are at New York. New York is scheduled to be 8-8. They're 6-3 against New York overall, 2-3 in the last 5 meetings, and 0-3 at New York within the last 5 years. So I have the New York as a loss. The Bengals may have to struggle against them. That brings up Baltimore, who can't seem to beat the Bengals at all. The Baltimore Ravens are projected to go 7-9, and their overall record against the Bengals remains at 500. And in the last 5 meetings, you guys know this, we are 5-0 against the Ratbirds. So this is a win that I chalk up right here. And after that, the Bengals get ready to go on a little bit of a streak at Philadelphia, who's also projected to go 7-9 to 8-8. And the Bengals' overall record against Philly is 8-3 in that one tie that we all hate, in which Donovan McNabb didn't even know that the game was supposed to be over. In the last 5 meetings, the Bengals are 2-2 and a tie. And at home against Philadelphia, the Bengals have only tied. I see this as being a win, as Philadelphia has completely gutted their roster and look to be in rebuild mode, and I don't think that this is going to be a year where they can get a win against a team as stout as the Bengals. That brings us back to the Browns, the poor Browns, again in Cleveland. We already know what their overall record is. We know the meetings between the two, but this is going to be at Cleveland, in which the Bengals are 2-0 in the past 5 years, and we don't see Hugh getting his first win against the Queen City, as we add another win for the sweep of Cleveland. That brings us back to Pittsburgh, the most hated rivals in the division, and this game is going to be at Pittsburgh week 15, and we already know these records as well, but we also know that the Bengals have a decent record against Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh, and I see this being the game that the Bengals win. And after that, week 16, the Bengals are at Houston, in which Vegas has projected Houston to be 8-8. And in the head-to-head record, the Bengals are tied up with the Houston Texans 4-4. In their last 5 meetings, Houston has got the best of the Bengals, and they are 1-4 against them. And at Houston, the Bengals are 1-3 in the last 5 matchups. So because of this, I take this as a L for the Bengals. And that brings and wraps up our last game of the season against the Baltimore Ravens, just like last year, in which I also see a sweep just like last year. And the Bengals pull out a win. So my projected record for the Bengals, just trying to be real and basing it off of recent history, I have them at 11-5. They could get another win or squeeze another one in there, but Vegas has our Bengals projected to be 9-7. So I think that 11-5 is a pretty decent record to have, and I think that that can be something that we can improve upon next year. Next, we'll talk about the curse of Ohio. So as you guys know, the Cleveland Cavaliers had a 52-year drought, which was not only for the Cavaliers but for the entire city of Cleveland, and it was broken thanks to LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers and Kyrie, aka Uncle Drew, where they pulled off a stunning finals victory, coming back from being down to take this series over. So that brought up the question of, if Cleveland was able to bring the curse, can the Bengals break their curse? And what curse is this, you might ask of? Well, the Bengals have not been able to make the playoffs since 1991, okay? And for those who don't know, there's actually a curse associated with that drought. The name of the curse is the curse of Bo Jackson. On January 13th, 1991, Bo Jackson injured his hip during a game against the Bengals that derailed his career into an early retirement in 1994. Since then, Every single team in the NFL has a playoff win since 91, except for the Bengals. So ever since that day, the Bengals have never won a playoff game, which also struck a chord in 2005 when the Bengals had their playoff hopes cast away by a knee injury to Carson Palmer. So the question I ask is, have the Cleveland Cavaliers helped lifted the dark cloud and curse over Ohio for the Bengals? We will see if AJ Green can be the Bengals version of the chosen one. I think that we have a very good chance of ending this now. But I'd like to get more than just a playoff win. I'd like to get a Lombardi. Next, we'll talk about Donte Whitner and whether the Bengals should sign him. In my opinion, I think we need to sign this guy. Donte Whitner is a great safety, and while I am still bitter about his 2011 decline of the Bengals after tweeting "Who Dey," yeah, he did that, and going to the 49ers, I think he is still a guy who could come on this team and contribute. Now, it's been said that Carlos Dansby has actively recruited Donte Whitner to sign with the Cincinnati Bengals. In my opinion, Donte Whitner is a top flight safety. Right now, we have George Iloka, we have Sean Williams, and then we have nobody really else. So a guy like Donte Whitner is a piece that we could use in place of Taylor Mays. He's way better than Taylor Mays, he's more consistent, and he's more established. Now, will he be willing to take on a smaller role? The jury is still out on that. But I think he's a guy who could have a definite impact on this team and be an enforcer out in that secondary for the Bengals, who already have a pretty good defense. With Whitner, aka Hitner, this could be a really nasty defense. Very tough and rugged. And that brings us to our last topic for the day, Leon Hall. I believe that the Bengals need to re-sign Leon Hall, and this is why. Leon Hall has been a staple of the Bengals franchise since 2007. He's been here through the Carson Palmer era. He's been here through the Andy Dalton era, and still has remained a productive asset to the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals secondary is very deep. Yes, we just brought in William Jackson III. We brought back Pac-Man Jones. Dre Kirkpatrick is entering into a big year, but we need more consistency from the slot position. Darqueze Dennard is scheduled to start in that role. However, it is unsure how healthy he will be and if he will be there for the start of the season. I think bringing Leon Hall in is a great idea. We need to keep that consistency. He's also known as the technician. Few people know that when we signed Pac-Man Jones and we brought in Terrence Newman, Leon Hall actually helped these guys develop their technical skills. So he's more than just a solid, great player. He's also a great mentor. Now that Bengals Real Talk has concluded, we'll get into our Twitter poll in which I asked you guys which linebacker you'd like to see replace Vontaze Burfict during his suspension. And the results are: Paul Dawson came in number 1 with 50%. Vincent Ray came in second with 36%. Marquise Flowers actually received 0%. And someone else received 14%. And I agree with the way that this poll came out. That's kind of how I see it going. I actually kind of see Vincent Ray and Paul Dawson splitting snaps, but it'll probably be in the reverse if I'm the Bengals coaching staff. So I look to see that. I also hope to see what kind of impact Jim Haslett is going to have on Paul Dawson. Apparently there's been some kind of maturity issues allegedly, so it will be nice to see Paul Dawson on the field. And we know what we have in Vincent Ray. He's a stalwart defensive player. He's a great guy, and he is a very smart linebacker. But I would love to see those guys mix it up in there. So we'll get into our new Stripe City poll. And in our new poll, we'll talk about which versions of the Color Rush uniform would you like to see the Bengals wear Thursday against the Miami Dolphins. I like the white joints with the black stripes, or do you like the all black, or would you like the all orange? Leave your comments, vote, Check out the poll. It's going to be on our website at newstripecity.blogspot.com. Make sure you vote. I'll also leave a link in the description as well as post the poll on my Twitter. So make sure you guys vote, and I look forward to it. So in closing, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for your comments on YouTube. Thanks for tweeting me, all of that you guys do. And I'd like to leave you guys with the who day, all day, every day, and especially on Sunday.